In a quiet suburb, a routine day at the park turned into a chilling encounter that shook a community to its core. As families enjoyed the sun-dappled afternoon, one black teen and her father were about to face an unimaginable ordeal. A racist cop, driven by prejudice and power, confronted them with baseless accusations, his demeanor heavy with hostility. But what began as a moment of fear soon transformed into a powerful testament of courage and defiance. The teen, standing tall against injustice, refused to back down in the face of intimidation. Her father, a pillar of strength, stood beside her, his unwavering support a beacon of resilience. As tensions peaked and the park fell silent, the teen's courageous stand not only defied the officer's bigotry, but also sparked a ripple of change. This is a story of bravery in the face of adversity, where a young girl's courage shamed prejudice forever. The teen, 16-year-old Maya, had always loved the park. It was her father's pride and joy, a space he had tirelessly worked to maintain for the community. On weekends, they'd spend hours there, tending to the flowers and cleaning up the playground. It was their safe haven, a place of laughter and togetherness. But on this particular day, everything changed. As Maya helped her father pick up litter near the swings, a patrol car pulled up. The officer, a stern-looking man with a sharp tone, stepped out and immediately targeted them. His voice cut through the peaceful air, accusing Maya of vandalizing a nearby bench, something she hadn't done. Confused and scared, Maya tried to explain, but the officer dismissed her words. The tension in his voice grew, and the crowd in the park began to gather. Maya's heart raced, but she knew one thing: she couldn't let fear silence her. Maya took a deep breath, her father's reassuring hand resting on her shoulder. The officer's accusations grew louder, and the crowd murmured uneasily. A few people pulled out their phones, recording the confrontation. Maya's father, Mr. Bennett, tried to reason with the officer, calmly explaining that they were only cleaning the park as they always did. But the officer wouldn't listen. His gaze was fixed on Maya, his tone laced with an unsettling edge. Maya glanced around at the onlookers. Some looked concerned, others unsure whether to step in. She felt a mix of fear and anger bubbling inside her. Why was this happening? Why was she being treated like a criminal for simply existing in a space her father had worked so hard to keep beautiful? The officer demanded her identification, but Maya stood firm. "I didn't do anything wrong," she said, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. The tension hung thick in the air, as if the entire park held its breath, waiting for what would happen next. The officer's demand for identification became sharper, his voice echoing across the park. Maya stood her ground, her hands trembling but her resolve unshaken. "I'm not doing anything wrong." "Why are you targeting me?" she asked, her voice louder now, drawing the attention of more onlookers. Her father stepped forward, his tone calm but firm. "She's just a kid, officer. We're here every weekend keeping this park clean for everyone." But the officer wasn't listening. His hand hovered near his radio, as if preparing to escalate the situation. Maya's heart pounded in her chest, but she refused to let him intimidate her. She could feel the weight of every gaze on her, some supportive, others hesitant, but all silently urging her to keep standing tall. A young mother in the crowd finally spoke up, her voice trembling but clear. "I've seen them here before. They're always helping. She didn't do anything." Others began nodding in agreement, their murmurs growing louder. The officer's confidence faltered for a moment, but his face hardened again. Maya locked eyes with him, her voice unwavering as she said, "You're wrong, and you know it." The crowd pressed closer, their phones still recording. The air was thick with tension, and Maya knew this moment would define not just the day, but something far greater. Just as the tension in the park reached its breaking point, another patrol car pulled up. A second officer, a younger woman with a calm demeanor, stepped out. She took in the scene, the crowd, the phones, the fear in Maya's eyes, and quickly approached. "What's going on here?" she asked, her voice steady but questioning. The first officer stiffened, brushing off her inquiry. "Just handling a situation," he said curtly. But the second officer wasn't convinced. She turned to Maya and her father, her tone softer. "What's this about?" Maya hesitated, unsure if this new officer would listen or side with her partner. But before she could speak, a man from the crowd stepped forward, holding up his phone. "We've got it all on video," he said firmly. "They've done nothing wrong." The crowd murmured in agreement, emboldened by his words. The first officer's face flushed, his confidence visibly shaken. The second officer glanced at the man's phone, then back at her partner. "If there's evidence, we need to see it," she said, her voice firm. The crowd inched closer, their presence now an undeniable force. Maya's heart raced as she realized this was no longer just about her. This was about something much bigger, standing up to injustice in front of everyone. But just when it seemed like the tide might turn, the first officer made a move that no one expected, escalating the situation to a level no one could have anticipated. The first officer, visibly agitated, reached for his radio and called for backup, his tone sharp and defensive. The crowd gasped, their murmurs turning into voices of protest. Maya felt her pulse quicken, but she refused to back down. She stepped forward, her voice steady but loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're trying to intimidate me because you think no one will stand up to you. But we all see what's happening, and we won't stay silent." The second officer held up a hand, stopping the first officer from saying anything further. "Enough," she said firmly, her gaze locked on him. "We need to de-escalate this, not make it worse." Turning to the man with the phone, she asked to see the footage. As the video played, it was clear. Maya and her father were innocent. They were cleaning the park, just as they said. The crowd erupted in support, their voices echoing through the park. The first officer's face paled, and he stammered out a weak explanation, but the second officer cut him off. "This is unacceptable." "You've overstepped," she said, her tone cold. Just as relief began to wash over Maya, the twist came. The second officer revealed that complaints had already been filed against her partner for similar behavior. "This isn't the first time, but it will be the last," she said, signaling the end of his unchecked authority. Maya stood tall, her courage sparking a change far beyond the park that day. What started as an act of defiance became a symbol of hope and accountability for the entire community. As the first officer was escorted away, the crowd erupted into applause, their cheers a mix of relief and triumph. Maya felt a wave of emotions, fear, pride, and a newfound strength. Her father hugged her tightly, his voice full of gratitude. "You stood up for what's right, Maya. I'm so proud of you." The second officer turned to Maya and her father, offering a sincere apology. "I'm sorry this happened to you. No one should ever feel unsafe in their own community." She promised that an investigation would follow, ensuring the officer would face consequences for his actions. The park, once tense and heavy, began to feel lighter as families returned to their activities. Maya looked around at the faces of those who had supported her. She realized her courage had sparked something bigger, a reminder that standing up to injustice can create real change. That day, the park became more than just a place. It became a symbol of unity, resilience, and hope.